Hello. Welcome to our second Houska sessions, which is just a few questions that I like to ask and engage the artist of this show with the public. They always want to know where all the creativity comes from. So, quickly though, not long questions, but I am going to mix it up, but there is 6 basically, and then I have one last question that I just change up or use. But anyway, one of you will go first, and you have the microphone, so Monya will go first. Tell us about your favorite part of this show and what makes it special.
My favorite part of the show is definitely the theme of it. I think our process maybe sometimes go a little unnoticed. It's more of like the exhibit is like how it looks and how the stuff goes together.
That's good. Our curator, Lauren, it was her idea, and she put together different artists that intuitively paint. And
so when I'm working on something, it's like it will change, and when I start, I don't even know what I'm doing. So it's really cool to be a part of something where our process is similar, and you can go around and realize, or think of like, oh, they were probably not even, what was even happening here? This color probably showed up unexpected to them.
Misato. Right. But just a short thing, just what?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Well, first of all, I want to state that intuition is underrated in a lot of art making process. To me, intuition is just the imprints of your soul, really, how it expresses itself, how it manifests on a canvas or sculpture, anything that you put your hands on, essentially. So what is intuitive making? It's really about honoring your impulse. Sometimes there's no reason for it. It's just what you're inclined to do. So it's temperament, it's personality, it's experience, it's your culture, it's everything about you that not only informs the intuition, but it's what guides the intuition. So I think it's a huge word, right?
It is.
But I think that's what it comes down to. When we look at these paintings, or, there's some that are more installation-like, and there are also sculptures in this space. You can just see the priorities. You can see just different thinking process that comes through, but it all comes down to form. It all comes down to visual communication. So it cannot be narrowed down further than intuition, which is the core of what makes us kind of unique from each other. We just have different intuition, so.
Yeah, you would think all artists would fit into that category, but they don't. You are specifically intuitive painters. But if you'll pass the microphone to Sarah, she can have the next question. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. What is something important you learned while putting this particular body of work together for this show, either about yourself or the creative process?
Well, the works that Lauren picked, and when she came into my studio, she was drawn to some that were, I would say specifically, a little bit scarier for me to show in terms of like some very intimate content and about like looking at shadow self, about reclaiming intuition, kind of beyond trauma. And there was a way that the imagery itself was sort of like new and unknown to me still. And so I liked that she kind of like put her finger on that pulse, and that, I would say, pushed me to continue making in that direction and to be a little bit fearless about it. So I think that was really affirming to me, to have somebody see a thread that I was making that I was scared to share, and to have them encourage me, and then for me just to kind of like keep expanding that.
And that kind of is the purpose of a curator and curating this particular show, because it's her vision incorporating all of your visions. So, okay. we'll try with you again with a question. Misato gave us such a good introduction to intuitive painting. I like that. All right. For you, what is or what does a great studio day look like to you?
A good studio day is when I don't have anything that I need to do, and it's just like I have freedom to just play around and experiment. And when I have that sort of like open for me, it's like it's more open, and then I can get really focused in and discover new things. So my process is very experimental. So a lot of techniques that I've sort of just like made up with weaving. I think a lot of weavers, they have their own ways of doing things, like skipping and making things easier, or like working with weird materials. And so a lot of that I've come up with just like time where I've been able to play and work with, instead of like, I gotta do this today and I have to get it done. It's more like, oh, today I can just mess around and see what happens. That's my favorite. Yes.
Oh, I love this one.
Yeah.
Okay. So I wake up, I get to take a long walk with somebody that I like, good conversation, clears my brain. Then I go to my studio. I am uninterrupted for 5 hours, which is impossible with a child.
Right.
Somebody has
Even without a child.
Somebody has taken care of all food. There's fresh coffee and incredible music on the radio for like 5 hours straight.
So that's your ideal, but does it ever really happen?
Seldom.
Have you,
Seldom.
seldom, but you
I'm
have.
holding on to this ideal that it will be there again. Yes.
Okay, Misato, I'll ask you, what is a favorite tool?
Ooh, I actually like this question too. I just recently discovered that there's a different kind of brush than the traditional filbert or round. It sounds geeky, but it's called eggbird brush. It's a longer filbert that has a bounce. So you're able to kind of control the speed and the force in which you apply your wrist. And I just really love that it can be both a good drawing tool or a good painting tool. I can go on and on, but they really don't make it that much anymore. It used to be a more traditional painting tool. I don't know, Sarah, if you know anything about this thing. I just found it at Blick, and I was like, hey, that looks new. That's something different.
That's what I was going to ask you. Is that you had not heard of it before? You discovered it just looking for
Yeah, I just
materials.
like to window shop. I go to Blick once in a while and just look at the tools, and I think it's called Catalyst. So the brand is called Catalyst Brush, and it's an Egbert, and they have 2 sizes only, one big, one small, but it's a great tool for painters, and long handle, so you can actually step back and see what you're doing. So that's my nerd moment.
Okay. Monya, do you have an upcoming project you are excited about, or what is next?
Wow. I'm currently learning teaching. I'm really into it. As I'm a fresh teacher. I've been maybe for like a year, slowly, more and more, and now I'm doing it more, and it's been really cool to teach weaving as one of the things I'm teaching to, like, from ages like 5 to like older adults, and switching it based on their age, or
And
it's
you're
really, that's an
doing it
intuitive
now
thing too.
at a school?
Yeah,
Okay.
intuitively doing that too, like just like seeing how people process it, and some kids like really pick it up fast. My studio practice, I'm actually doing, I'm working on stuff that I'm not showing, and the purpose of it is to see how my work changes if I'm making with only the intention of it being, just like in my free time, the intentions of it being with myself, by myself. I'm not thinking of like, where's this going? Who's going to see it? What are people going to think of it? Instead, it's just, I'm just like with myself working on it. And there's a little weaving and there's something else. And it's like a secret. And I'm just going to see where it goes. But teaching is like the thing that it's going to turn into some kind of art for myself. Like, I don't know.
Well, Sarah is a teacher as well, so that is something that a lot of artists find that they can get somewhat of a income, a stable income, consistent. But.
Yeah, for me, it's good to have a job like that, but also it's something I need to exercise instead of being in my studio. I like being around people, and like I feel like that's gonna do something. I don't know, moving, playing. I don't know, and it being different every day, and seeing how that evolves. I don't know. Who knows? Yeah.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Question for you. Do you have anybody, dead or alive, that you dream of showing with?
Oh, yes.
Just you and this person.
Alice Neal,
Okay.
the portrait painter, badass woman that would have people from her neighborhood come and sit, and she would paint them live. And she painted herself, I think, through like all stages of her life as like a female, from like being a like new mother with her babies to like being 80 and her body changing. So yeah, she's always inspired me, and I feel like she's probably a good storyteller and gossip. Like she probably heard a lot of things, and so I think she'd also be a great person to talk to.
Okay, but do you see her work complementing yours, or different?
I mean,
what would be?
She was like one of my very favorite artists when I was first doing like portrait painting, and so I think that the quality of storytelling that's in her portrait is like always something that is inside of my work, whether I'm doing an animation or a painting or an illustration. So I mean, I think like I'm not necessarily making just straightforward portraits anymore, but there's like a heart of like being a woman artist that I really connect with in her pieces.
Oh, good. Well, it makes sense to me then. I needed that clarification. Well, to keep it short, this is the last question, and it's somewhat wild card. It isn't, but I want an answer from each of you, since usually it's one-on-one, but each of you. Because similar to showing, who would you want to go have a dinner with? Just one other person, dead or alive, that you would just like to converse with, not necessarily paint and show work together, but who would you like to?
That's a hard one. That is a wild card. Just off the top of my head. I know. I knew to prepare for number 7. Just drank a lot of coffee, so I'm alert, Just off the top of my head, I'm going to say Hans Hofmann, German. Very influential to just the overall art education. I went to the studio school in New York for painting. So it wasn't until after that I realized his influence was far reaching, and a lot of painters that came out of the New York school also was heavily influenced by Hans Hofmann. And I also personally really love German paintings. There's this kind of temperament that I really enjoy, that there's an aggressiveness with the work, and the way he understands form is unmatched, and he's a great teacher.
So you would really learn.
Yeah, I want to see what he's like outside of his teaching.
Do you feel like you would have anything to tell him?
No, I feel like I would just sit there and have him tell me how much my painting needs worked. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to expect. I heard he's illegible because English just wasn't his first language, so he had to have a translator, and the notes that the students accumulated over the course of working with him was kind of jumbled. They're all over the place, but I just imagine it being a very colorful experience, even just getting to have that conversation of like, hey, all of these that you taught me, am I doing this right? Like, I just want to compare notes. So I think that would be a fun experience.
Monya?
A caveman. A prehistoric someone, and there's no talking. There's a lot of observing each other, and like, I don't know, it's very unpredictable dinner. Yeah.
What do you think you would get from a caveman?
I'm fascinated by like human behavior and to see like a person who.
Before they had all the influences now, yes.
And say, what makes you happy? Well, I guess, show me. Show me. Without all the stimuli everywhere, what makes you happy? Yeah, caveman.
And let's end it with Sarah.
Okay, this is a hard question because I'm like, okay, spiritual leader, Dalai Lama, but then now I'm thinking, I really value comedy and I would like to be funnier.
Yes.
So I think I
we
would like
all?
to sit with Lily Tomlin.
Oh, that's great.
I mean, I think she's hilarious. She's quirky. She's been in so much. You know, she's like.
And she's
a
living.
female
It's still
comic.
possible.
She's living. She might be an art supporter. So, yeah, I feel like I might be Lily Tomlin. So, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for everything. Oh, me, I'm not important, but I do like fame and fashion and stuff like that. So it wouldn't necessarily be an art person, but it is a hard question. There's so many people that we could learn from. So, but it's about you guys, not me. And I just want to thank you for making the effort to come, but creating such beautiful work that Lauren likes. No, that Lauren, we could find a place and a way of showing your work, because it is hard to put, important shows together that really help or teach, the general public who know nothing, they would not know about intuitive painting and stuff. So, thank you.
Thank you.
All righty, that's all.